It's 1967. Hollywood was about to be caught by the storm. The country had changed. The Vietnam War had reached a critical point under the Lyndon B. Johnson administration, leading to mass protests, as well as the growth of the hippie movement, from a marginal subculture to a mainstream phenomenon. A new sensibility built on disconformity and disenchantment towards authority was making its way among the hearts of the age's youth. Hollywood's conservative film studios, owned by elderly magnates, were in direct opposition to this new sensibility, and thus were incapable of adapting to the needs of the new audiences of the baby boom. The resulting drift was augmented by the loss of power film studios suffered as television found popularity in the 50s. Fighting against this shift, studios had placed their bets on the epic genre in films such as The Ten Commandments and Ben-Hur, as well as media exclusive to the big screen, Technicolor, panoramic screens, stereo, and 3D. Although they somewhat managed to retain a grasp on the industry, come the 60s, the public stage had changed. The advent of foreign cinema became a success in the big cities. For the first time, movies across the pond had widespread success. These movies were appealing because they reflected with precision the discontents of American youth, and had the extra appeal of daring to show what Hollywood had never dared to show: explicit sex, characters suffering from social alienation, and non-linear experimental plots. As new home releases flopped and many studio managers encountered death or chose retirement, massive private equity firms took advantage of the situation to acquire and absorb the once profitable film industry. But horizons were open just to insurancemen, car salesmen, record store clerks, and real estate vendors. The financial breach was also capitalized by a series of young, indirect movie producers that did know what the audiences yearned for. To add to the shift, Jack Valenti had taken care of the new director of the Motion Picture Association of America, and was set on renovating the outdated codes of movie production. For the first time in history, screens would show explicit sex, violence, and drug consumption. Under this new standard, the industry found room to great films such as The Dirty Dozen, In the Heat of the Night, and Cool Hand Luke. Yet among all these, one was destined to change the film industry forever. On the 30th of August 1967, Bonnie and Clyde, directed by Arthur Penn, was released, but the path up to it, have it be real and made, was the longest and steepest of slopes. Bonnie and Clyde's conception goes way back to 1963, in New York City. Art director Robert Benton and editor David Newman, a true creative couple, have acquired great successes in Esquire magazine, mostly within the satirical Dubious Achievement Awards. Benton was having a rough time. He had just been dumped by his girlfriend and felt lost in life. All that remained for him was cinema, his refuge. As many other cosmopolitan New Yorkers, he felt a knack for European cinema that arrived fresh to the arts and rehearsal galleries. One of them caught his attention with great strength: Jules et Jim, by Francois Truffaut. The movie's dexterity at blending emotional ambiguity, nostalgia for the lost past, and uninhibited sexuality deeply moved the grieving Benton, who went so far as to watch the film 12 whole times. As for David Newman, he also was an enthusiastic moviegoer. Together, they used to enjoy the moments re-releases of Orson Welles, Howard Hawks, and Alfred Hitchcock, organized by their mutual friend, Peter Bogdanovich. Besides cinema, they both happened to be true crime novel enjoyers, with a particular obsession with the book The Dillinger Days by John Toland, where crimes committed by outlaws in the Great Depression were given minute descriptions. Among the gangs portrayed were the crime couple, Bonnie and Clyde. Benton remembered being fascinated by these two petty criminals since he was little. He had grown up in Waxahachie, a small town east of Texas where the criminals' names and infamy sank so deep in the provincial imaginary that even in Halloween, boys got dressed up as Clyde and girls as Bonnie. Though he had no idea about filmmaking, Benton got his hopes up with the idea of a script about the crime couple, and hastily suggested it to Newman. The goal was to land a movie able to innovate within American cinema as the French New Wave had innovated its own tradition, and had set their sight on having Truffaut himself direct it. Bonnie and Clyde's story had only been used for major inspiration for Fritz Lang's 1937 movie You Only Live Once. It truly was a once-in-a-lifetime chance. All they needed was a modern tone, and they found it in a remarkable phrase in Toland's book. They were not just outlaws, they were outcasts. Benton and Newman did not know how to write scripts, but far from being stopped in their tracks, they wrote a 75-page treatment where they described scenes, including camera shots and descriptions of character interventions, but no dialogues. They also lacked contacts in show business, but luckily, a friend's wife, Eleanor Wright Jones, was working with a producer who specialized in low-budget feature films, and she just happened to want to begin her own career as a producer. Jones thought that, given some assistance, they could shoot the film in black and white. They managed to get the script to be read by director Arthur Penn, but he put it away without much of a thought. Quote, "I was caught up in so many other projects. I just didn't take it seriously. I was sent that movie, but it was not that movie. Yet." As luck would have it, it happened that her boss, Louis Allen, took an interest in adapting Ray Bradbury's novel Fahrenheit 451, and struck a coincidence of wands with Truffaut, who had been wanting to have an adaptation of the novel be his English debut for 3 whole years. Jones told her boss to make more of such a chance and hand Truffaut the Bonnie and Clyde treatment when they would meet in Paris to discuss Fahrenheit. Allen complied and passed on the document to Helen Scott, a New York journalist that had lived many years in Paris, so that she would serve as an intermediary by writing a letter to Truffaut on the treatment, which she did. Quote, "You know my embarrassment about these things, but I read it last evening and to my surprise, and for the first time, I was extremely excited. It has every evidence of being excellent. The scenario is created for you. It's about Bonnie and Clyde, an authentic pair of young bandits who lived in the 1930s in Texas, the same period and locale as John Steinbeck's Grapes of Wrath. May seem banal, but for this scenic treatment? At first, I thought it was too American for you, but there are 1,000 nuances that make it something special." As the French director didn't speak English, he had some friends read the treatment. Luck shined upon Benton and Newman. The treatment caught his attention. Truffaut expressed some big expectations, wishing to have it come to big screens with Jane Fonda starring as Bonnie. He even traveled to New York, where he displayed a great deal of excitement with the project. He unpacked the treatment in a line-by-line analysis, and thus Truffaut had divided the script before he even arrived in New York. He split it into 75 pages of script comprised of units. They were told that some events could be skipped, necessary sacrifices to achieve the style that would define the movie. This way, the amateur scriptwriters were aided in avoiding a didactical tone and to achieve their real intention, the concreteness of a story that spoke of the present. Benton and Newman could not believe how lucky they were. Their favorite director was already a part of the project, and besides, they were getting a masterclass on scriptwriting for free. Truffaut was open and generous in showing all he knew. He even invited both of them to a private screening of the 1949 B-series movie Gone Crazy, that he himself requested, and where Jean-Luc Godard and Anna Karina, close friends of Truffaut, were also invited. The movie turned out to be a prefiguration of what they all sought to do in Bonnie and Clyde, as it told the story of another crime couple, a gun-obsessed one, who escalated their violent acts up to a wave of consecutive crimes. Guns and gunshots served as allegories of sexual excitation, a figure that would evidently be emulated in Bonnie and Clyde. Up to this point, it seemed like the movie's prosperous future was set in stone. But cinema, just like life, always beholds great surprises. Well, that has been all for today's video. If you have enjoyed, you could leave a like, a comment, and subscribe, hitting the bell, if you would like to see more of us in the future.